Welcome to the show. I am Owen Morgan, creator of Cove Wellbeing, and I want to thank all our patrons for supporting us and allowing this talk show to happen. I create, produce, and edit all the videos and talk shows you see and hear. I do this alongside my life as a massage therapist and a stepdad to my awesome 4-year-old. And I would love to make more content, but I can only do this by having the amazing patrons as part of the Cove Wellbeing movement. This can allow me to have more time to create. You can find out more about being a patron at www.patreon.com/mcw. This was recorded in the middle of the worldwide pandemic, one that will impact a lot of people's mental health. So please check out the helplines listed in the video description. Do not deal with this alone. Also, I just want to mention the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement that is happening this week. I want to send all my love and thoughts to George Floyd's family. And I hope that we can really make a change on the issues around racial discrimination and racial trauma, which will come up on our trauma show. So we are sending all our love. So today we are talking exercise, fitness, and sport within mental health. So with me, as always, my co-host Stephen Truelove, Darryl Osborne, plus our special guest, Alisdair Mann. So, Steve, how are we today?
Yeah, I'm really good, Owen. Thank you. And ready to go on today's topic and interacting with Alisdair.
Yes, thanks, mate. And I just want everybody to know right now that we're using a new soundboarding software system. So please bear with me today, everybody. I know I'm normally more streamlined than this. How are we today, Darryl?
Yeah, I'm very well. Particularly excited today. Feeling really good. Excited to get started.
Good stuff. I know you've been doing a course at the moment. Is that finished yet? Are you still going?
Yes, I'm going through the bulk of it. I got a few more things to kind of just get cross the I's, cross the T's, dot the I's, and then it'll be the next couple of weeks I'll finish up completely and get all of it in. So it's, get in there, super close now. Excited.
Brilliant, good stuff. Can't wait to see what more comes out on your new podcast coming up from everything you're learning. It's going to be amazing. Awesome, thanks, mate. So we today have a very special guest. Alisdair Mann, who is the host of Conversations With podcast, inspired by his time within the JSAM community, a space for people on a fitness and weight loss journey to share with others and build like-minded friendships. I've known him for, I think it's 10 years, but I think we're going to say it's more like 15. I've been so inspired by his fitness journey. Pretty mind-blowing. How are we today, Alisdair?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, Owen.
Yeah, good times. And I was so excited to see what you're doing with the podcast and everything you've been going through with your fitness journey. I found it so insanely inspiring. And I feel like we've kind of reconnected through that journey too. So how is, obviously with the weight loss side of it, how has that been? What spurred you on to really make a change on your weight?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, it's real encouragement for me to see that it's inspiring other people. And it's always a bit overwhelming when people tell me that. My journey's been, people will always ask me, well, how quickly have you lost your weight? And I've lost 42 kilograms. And in truth, that's been about 18 months. However, I actually think that journey's been a lot longer. And it's actually probably been nearer 10 years. And I've actually maybe always battled my weight since I was kind of 13 or 14. So it's not just an 18-month journey. There's been lots of ups and downs during that period, but my successes have come in the last kind of 18 months. And through getting to the lowest point, and I'll often tell people that people are at their most dangerous when their back's against the wall. They can only move forward. And I think with a lot of people's journeys, whether that's with alcoholism, drugs, weight, gambling, whatever your difficulties are, your mental health, sometimes you have to get to the lowest point that you can only go up. And I reached that lowest point back in probably May 2018, when I suddenly developed mental health issues. And that's been a bit of an unknown, even with speaking with doctors, psychologists, counsellors. I've been through a massive journey trying to understand it, but I started to develop real deja vu, which is the only way I can describe what I experience, and I still experience 18 months on. But deja vu that can happen 20, 30 times a day, where I was feeling like I was, at one point, I thought somebody was going to shake me and wake me up and say, it's okay, you're in hospital, we've got you. And that never happened. And I had to try and go through that and understand that, and be able to manage it. So that was kind of the start of my journey, was I started to experience those, and it all stemmed from having one panic attack. I had a panic attack, and then from that day I've experienced more deja vu. And that was, I don't know why, but I've made massive changes since then, trying to heal myself. And it's been a transformation, kind of mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And I remember when we spoke on the phone, didn't we? Because we've been friends for a long time, and we were discussing, what you've been going through. And I remember you mentioning the deja vu side of things, which I thought was really interesting. And when you say deja vu, so it feels like it's somewhere you've been before. So do you think it might potentially be something along the lines of you were recalling memories, recalling experiences, and they were coming back up for you, and you were kind of reliving them? Would that maybe be a good description of the deja vu sensations? Maybe.
So it felt like, maybe not so much at the time, but if at the end of the day, or even an hour after an event, I'd have this thought of, you've done this before, you've been here before, you've done this exact thing before, which would create worry and panic, that why have I done this before? Why am I redoing the same things? It sent me into spaces of going back through my calendar, trying to find when I maybe had done that event, when I had been in that business meeting before, where I had been, where I'd had that conversation with a friend before. Why did I feel like I was doing everything a second time? And one of the things that helped me get through that was my dad saying simply, what if you are one of these lucky people who is just getting to relive his life the second time? What would you do differently? And that helped me every time I get that feeling. I think, okay, great. What am I going to do differently? How am I going to be better? It was, if it's not controlled, it could send me into a space of really trying to understand it. And one of the things I have to do to manage it is to just, and one of the things you said to me actually was, label it. Oh, hello, deja vu. There you are. And that helped, because it helped me to be able to kind of box it off and stop and move on. But it's a really weird sensation that I do feel like I am reliving my life. I'm doing the same things, which I still don't understand. I don't understand why, because even professionals have not been able to say, okay, that is anxiety. That is definitely an anxiety thing, or that is definitely a PTSD thing, or that's a panic attack. Nobody can say that what that is, because it's. And if I Google it, if I go and try to research it, there is no understanding of what that is. I don't think there's other people that have talked about it. I understand that maybe other people do experience that, but nobody's talked about it. So I really want to bring that story to life, so that if somebody else is going through it and they're researching that and trying to understand it, they can find somebody else who's experienced it. It might help them, because I couldn't find anything that says that's what that is. And I know that the mind is so unexplored and so misunderstood. To this day, it's an amazing computer that we just don't understand. that affects us in so many different ways, that maybe there isn't an answer for what it is. But if I could have just found one other person that said they were experiencing that, that might have helped me.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, what a journey you've been on. And you've been able, like you said, you've been able to use this experience to, I'm sure, push forward with what you're doing with your weight loss journey, what you're doing with your amazing podcast. I guess it's shaped the future for you, which is, from a grateful, viewpoint, must be really wonderful. And I think it would be really, really good for you and me to do a one-to-one about this whole thing actually on our trauma podcast. So let's make sure we do that, man, because I think your story's got so much value, and we'll definitely do that. And I want to thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Clearly informed your fitness and weight loss journey, which is what we're going to talk about. It'd be great to see how that shaped and changed your perception of the world too. So thank you, Alisdair, for that. I'm so grateful for sharing that with us today, and I hope it's been of value to the audience. So we're going to move on to the subject matters today, but let's definitely do a one-to-one, mate, at some point in the future. It'd be great. So today we're talking fitness. Let me bring up my script. I've got so many screens on the go this time around. So we're talking about exercise, fitness, and that kind of thing. So I had a little look online, as always, to see the impacts that exercise have on us. I mean, a lot of us have heard this before, but I'm going to say it. So I've searched online for the description of how exercise helps the brain and body chemistry. So what I found out was it increases heart rate, which pumps more oxygen to the brain. It aids in the release of hormones, which provide an excellent environment for the growth of brain cells. Exercise also promotes brain plasticity by stimulating growth of new connections between cells, in which important cortical areas of the brain. I'm really struggling with some of these words. Endorphins are a type of neurotransmitter or chemical messenger. Endorphins are the only one of the neurotransmitters released when you exercise. Physical activity also stimulates the release of dopamine, norepinephrine, you know what I mean, and serotonin. These brain chemicals play an important part in regulating mood. So we've all heard about happy hormones and how that blood, rush of blood and chemicals into our system is really, really wonderful for making us feel good. But how can we hold on to that good feeling? How can we use it for that? So before we do anything, let's find out a little bit more about what the guys get up to. So we're looking at what exercise or movement do you engage in? Why that form of movement or exercise? And how does it make you feel? So I'll head over to you, Steve. Activity-wise, what do you get up to?
Well, what I do these days is every morning I go through a sequence of stretch and breathing exercises, and that sets me up for the day. I can do most of it before I get out of bed, because it's just something I've created for myself. Some people say, I've listened to me talk about it and say it's like yoga. Now, I've never done yoga, but if this fits, then that's the way to go. So people I've listened to over the years have often said they've got to where they've got to, and they are healthy the way they are because they started stretching the body more when they were young. And that seems to have worked more for some people than actual hard physical exercise. So if it works for them, then yeah, I'll give it a go. The morning regime that I use, it clears my mind, it raises my energy, so I'm ready to blast through my day ahead, and I'm feeling really good. I believe that you have to do what you enjoy and what brings you benefits exercise-wise. Some will like cycling or swimming, running, HIIT classes, yoga, etc. I don't think it works if you're pushing yourself at something that you don't enjoy. I think part of it is to enjoy what you do, find what works for you, and that will bring the benefits to your life, mind, body, spirit, soul.
Yeah, I guess I think that the way we approach why we do the things we do like that will change over time, won't they? Especially as we grow older too. It's really important. Yeah. So thanks, Steve. That's really, really awesome. So, Darryl, for you, what do you get up to? I know you love a good walk, don't you, out in the woods and whatnot?
Yeah, I love nature and I like outdoor stuff and outdoor activities. So I've done that throughout the years, and I'm missing it a lot at the moment, to be fair, because with lockdown, haven't ventured out very far. So yeah, I'm feeling it now as well, the implications of not doing so much, because I do bits and bobs and I go for the odd run. I do a little bit in the house kind of circuit type stuff now and again, but I haven't really got into it like I kind of have been before. I kind of miss like the variety and the choice of just doing what feels good. So like I like to just like Steve said, get moving. So whatever you enjoy, because it's the experience as well with a lot of things, isn't there? Like for me, it becomes a chore. Otherwise, for me, the experience of going hiking is not just about the exercise. That's just a bonus of it all. And the experience of going to the gym, I miss my gym routine. I miss that like space where I get up. And at one point, I used to go most mornings, nearly every morning, and go just get up really early and go before I start the day, before I talk to anybody, stick my headphones in, listen to a great podcast, and have that space. And it's not literally just about that, but like you say, it does release those kind of things and makes you feel good. But it's also that space and all of it that comes with it, and enjoying the activity and progressing with things. There's so much that comes into it. So yeah, anything outdoor activity wise, I've mixed up over the years, and the gym I've been quite keen on, and I like to just try different things. I haven't done martial arts for a long time, but there's been a lot of thinking time in the lockdown. I'm thinking about when we go back. There's lots of things I want to do, and a lot of them are physical and active, and martial arts is one of them. So it's just keeping the variety and enjoying it, and not making it a have to, and this is what I must do is key. Yeah, and just whatever you enjoy, but make sure you're moving because we're designed to move, aren't we?
Yeah, certainly. And I think, how we relate to what exercise we're doing is really important. You have to really tune in every now and again just to see why you're doing what you're doing, because it needs to be emotionally and mentally sound decision making too. Because I've been addicted to exercise before to the point that it made me extremely ill. So even though it's a good thing to do, in inverted commas, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it can become extremely damaging. So there's that too. So yeah, thank you, Darryl, for that. So Alisdair, this is a chance for us to dive into what you've been doing, because I'm not going to tell the audience because I know what you've been doing. But what kind of, like, when you first went for it, you thought, right, weight loss party time, calorie fucking deficit, as you say. I said I wouldn't say that on this show. I've just sworn, but that's what the hashtag is. So what can you do? So I know you do so much big body movement stuff, but when you first started, what was the first few things you did?
So my exercise journey started well before my weight loss journey. I was actually doing exercise that where I was almost 30 stone in weight. The exercise I was doing, I was probably on the verge of having a heart attack. I was doing high intensity workouts in the gym. I had a personal trainer, and I was doing that kind of 3 or 4 times a week. So I was a gym goer, and I use a gym. I'd always use gyms here and there, and I've probably tried them all: the $9.99 gyms, the £150 a month gyms. But my mum and dad always used a gym in a hotel where they could use the sauna and the steam room and the pool afterwards. And my mum always had a rule: I can't go in there until I've been in there. So she wasn't allowed to go in the steam room and the sauna and the place she enjoyed until she'd been in the gym. And I took that ethos and I joined the gym that had those services, and I need those services for me, because I actually like that space afterwards to relax and enjoy and have some me time. So I was doing that previously, but then I started my weight loss journey, and my activities are very varied. So even prior to my weight loss journey, again, all trying to do weight loss, I started boxing, which is something I still do. From using the PT, like I mentioned, I still do that. But then I added in training by myself. But one of the big things, and as Steve said about walking, is I learned. So I joined this community called the JSAM. So for anybody who's listening, that's actually an online personal trainer called James Smith, and he has an app that we use on our phones that gives us some workouts, and it gives us space to know what our calories should be, how much protein you should have. But he keeps his meshes really simple. So as you said, calorie fucking deficit, and that's his tag. But one of his best friends and they're big on social media, which is where I found them. But one of his friends' key taglines is "Neat up 24/7." So for anybody who doesn't understand the word NEAT, it stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that's all the calories you burn when you're not doing exercise. And one of his things is about doing your walking. So I actually have in my mindset now that there's two non-negotiables for me. Those things are I log everything that I eat and I move and I do my 10,000 steps a day minimum. So that walking is like one of the key building blocks. I do that every day. And throughout lockdown, I've been doing way more of that and doing way more steps because I've found an enjoyment in walking. And my dad, and I'll speak a lot about friends or family, but my dad lost lots and lots of weight, and it helped him through the loss of my mum. They were married for almost 40 years, but with walking. And he talks about that being his mental health space because it gives you a chance just to, it seems to relax, me and many others. It gives you some headspace where you can have some thought time. You can do things that I love listening to music. So I put my music on when I'm walking. I love listening to podcasts. So sometimes I'll switch it up and listen to a podcast when I'm walking. But that's one of my building blocks. And then, I've got a lifetime goal since I got into fitness and my weight loss. I've actually got a lifetime goal of being able to do an Ironman. And anybody who doesn't know what an Ironman is, it's a ridiculous amount of exercise in one day, consisting of a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then finishing with a marathon. So I guess your listeners can't see me, but to maybe describe me, I'm 6'8", and I'm 142 kilograms. So maybe think of people would describe me as similar in height and stature to Tyson Fury, and he had an awesome journey. And I actually think my journey and his journey lined up. So, if you're listening, Tyson, maybe we should do a podcast to get together. And I was training for the triathlon throughout this year, and that was a big thing. But what I've learned from all of that is I need to keep my exercise varied, because some days I might want to box, some days I might want to ride my bike, some days I might want to run, but no matter what it is, do it. Because it's as long as you're going to enjoy doing it. If you hate going to the gym, don't go to the gym. It's not something that you should force upon yourself. But you might like walking, go and walk. You might like to ride a bike. Maybe try some new things, because that's what I've done, and I've found things that I've loved. I never thought I'd be a runner. I never thought I would run. That's just something that I thought was for crazy people. And then I found a love for running. But so it's not just about doing something you love. Sometimes do something that you might not think you want to do, and you'll learn to love it. But yeah, keep it varied. Do what you want to do, and keep it consistent. Do it regularly, because as you said, but you get all those positive effects from doing it, which I can list off. There's hundreds of positives that I've taken from it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, my friend. That was brilliant. And there's so much in there that I kind of will pick up on, but I won't pick up on all of it. But I think our relationship with our exercise, the structure we create, the demands we put on ourselves with it, can actually be quite toxic in the end. Like you say, if you say you need to do this one thing every single day and this other thing every single day, it becomes overwhelming, and then you miss sessions and you feel terrible about it, and then emotionally that affects you. Then you might start to eat shit food, and it just spirals from there. You have to be really sensible and reasonable. I think you're spot on with walking, and I have to say, like in lockdown, lots of people are going to gain weight, and they're going to be like, I don't get it. Like, I'm going for runs, I'm like out in the garden doing, Joe Wick stuff or whatever, and they're like, I don't seem to be shifting this way. I'm like, but you've lost all your activities of daily living have gone. You're not walking to work anymore. You're not walking around your workplace. You're burning like a lot less calories right now because of lockdowns. It's all good destroying your body for an hour every day, but if you're not doing the activities of daily living, then you're probably going to gain weight even if you're exercising, because you're probably eating more as well. So it's like you said, I'm glad you said about that. Things we do on a daily basis are the staples, aren't they, to our health, really? Especially when you grow old, if you can keep the walking going till the day you die, if you can, it's a sensible activity that you can continue to do, and especially gardening as well is another one, isn't it? So that you can kind of work around with all of the sort of the older generation clients I have for massage say the same thing. So yeah, a big part of my journey was, I sort of came in and out of various things. So I would kind of be into squash for years. So I played in squash leagues. I worked my way up 4 or 5 divisions, playing, some top level players. It was the best time of my life, and I lost an unbelievable amount of weight. So even though I don't rock out with Alisdair's 6'8", very jealous. I'm 6'2". That's all right. I must have been about 14, 15 stone. But by the time I got through those squash leagues, I was more like 12 and a half, 13. Actually, it was too small. I had a 6-pack and all that was great, but I looked a bit ill. Squash is one of the highest calorie burning things you can do. And I loved it for years. And then I loved fitness classes for years. Then I ran half marathons every other weekend for a year. So I was getting a little bit addicted and just swapping around. So I clearly wasn't doing it necessarily for the right reasons, but I was bullied in school for my weight. So I felt unsafe and a bit disgusted in my own body. So obviously I want to get addicted to exercise and being in top shape. Whereas now I'm more 16 stone. I feel like I'm probably a stone too heavy. And I'm working through that. But now I know that the exercise was more addictive based. I need to find a new relationship with fitness and do what I love. And I absolutely love racket sport, and I need to bring tennis back into my life. That's where I thrive and do really, really well. It's a safe and social activity, and it's really good for exercise. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because, on the surface, everyone's like, wow, it's amazing. Look at you with your, 1.5 hour half marathon times and your squash divisions. But I was like, guys, I'm on my knees here mentally. They're never going to see that. And that's Instagram for you. You never can tell, can you, what's really going on? Right, let's move on to our next question. I feel like there's so much to talk here today. It's probably a 2-parter, I reckon, this one. So our next question is, what are our thoughts on the confidence, self-esteem, and self-love aspects of exercise and its results? So it's touching on what I've just said. We're doing it for confidence, self-esteem, and self-love, but we have to be very careful how we approach it. And even though I've discussed a little bit about this already, I'd love to get your guys' opinion in brief on this one. So Steve, I'll bring you back into the room. What are your thoughts on the sort of self-confidence, self-love aspect of the exercise journey?
Most people, when they train in some form, depends what you're enjoying, there's some sort of euphoria, a buzz. Again, we're back to the chemical releases in the body, because that's how it interacts with us when we sort of do some sort of physical exertion. We get the heart beating, and something happens inside the body. And I think it does build confidence, especially when people are talking about weight. I would go to first. If somebody is, as Alisdair was saying before, I would imagine his confidence changed and possibly his self-esteem when he changed shape and size. That's why a lot of guys spend time working out and getting that ripped look. I suppose is to build their own confidence for some reason. The self-esteem, it can help, but self-love, I think, is a deeper thing sometimes, because you generally exercise and look better. It might build your confidence, might help your self-esteem, but I think the self-love is something that's internal. We can love the way we look, but we might not love something about us inside ourselves. So we're back to, I often believe there's a balance. And if you can get your mindset right, if you can get your nutrition reasonable and do some form of exercise, your life will be pretty good because you have got some balance there. But I don't think one is the answer to everything. Physical exercise, getting yourself moving, doesn't necessarily give you self-love or boost your self-esteem. It works different for everybody. But I think a combination of nutrition, mindset, and exercise can definitely bring all of them together.
Yeah, I like you said that, Steve, about self-love, because like you say, that's a deeper rooted core value, belief system, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's much deeper, isn't it? It's the whole of you, the holisticness of all of you. I think a level of self-love comes from, a respect for your body, a respect for how you live your life. Look, taking care of yourself is a totally different thing to some of the stuff we've been discussing here today, and I think it's that needs to inform a lot of what we're doing. I just want to touch on something that's a little bit heavier, just briefly, guys. I think it's important. I was listening to Body Keeps the Score again today on my walk. So again, I've been walking every day, 1.5 miles. It's about a mile and a half, an hour and a half, 3.5 miles. And I been listening to some podcast, and he was talking about how quite a lot of the boys that were abused within the Catholic Church system, so many of those boys had kind of had their masculinity taken away, their power taken away from them. And so many of them, time after time, if they haven't gone down addiction, drug use, have gone into the gym world, got absolutely huge and hench and everything else as a way to try and reclaim what was taken from them. And it is manifested in that way. But whenever he worked with them in a therapy setting, no matter how ripped or how many competitions they won, they come into the room, they burst into tears, and there's still a frightened little boy underneath. And there's not enough weightlifting in the world that is going to heal what was taken from you. And even though that's a little bit heavy, I think it's very important to mention that early on in this podcast chat, because you really have to, like Alisdair was saying about mindfulness earlier, you have to look inwardly as a passionate observer and say, what's going on for me right now? And is it informing my decision making? Very, very powerful, and can really shift and change things. Certainly did for me.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is absolutely right. But we play out in many parts. That's what parts integration is about. When you're working with people, is one part of you is saying, I love myself and I feel confident, but that little voice in the background is going, no, you don't, and it's always going back to some experience you've had. And once you can get that sorted, and the balance to everything through the 3 phases, really, then you can get some sort of coherence in your life.
Yeah, definitely. You sort of fragment, don't you? And there's different parts you carry through, and that's a whole other chat show what we're talking about right there. So we'll try and stay on point. So thank you, Steve. So Darryl, for you on like the impacts on confidence and self-esteem, what's your thoughts on all of this? How do you approach this subject?
Yeah, I think it's hugely connected, whether it be like good or bad in a way as well. It can be really powerful, but it can also be very draining. I think it can be like therapy, and I mean that just like for everybody day to day, but also for people with struggling with certain things. If you come about it from the right way, I think it all comes to the story that you kind of tell yourself around it, why you're doing it, the intention behind it. Yeah, because you could relate it to loads of things, can you? Like relationships as well. Some people get into relationships for the wrong reason. If you get into exercise for the wrong reason, there's more stuff that come up. It can be more traumatic, it can be more difficult, and it can cause you to be step further back. Like you say, especially if you kind of feel like it's failing and you're putting lots of pressure on it. So I think it's really key to do what's right for you and to realize why you're doing it. A lot of people exercise and they don't have clear intentions. A lot of it comes from self-judgment and the judgment that others have maybe put on them in society and shaming, and then they feel like, oh, they want to look better for this and that, and there's all these crash diets for weddings and stuff like this, and it's not healthy. But if you come from it as a lifestyle and you understand it and understand why you do it and you understand the real purpose of it, it's not so you just look slim, but so your body's operating well, and we're designed for that. And you bring in like the enjoyment, and you do things that inspire you. And part of that process, like anything, like art, like relationships, like reading a book, all of it can inspire and grow the mind and really make you feel great. Or it can be the opposite. So it depends, yeah, what it is. What's that material, so to speak? Why are you doing it? So for me, it's really powerful. It's a space. It's a space to myself to be creative, to be inspired, to move, to get the body moving. And altogether, it's just a beautiful experience. And it's just, there's different elements of it. It's great that I can be in great shape. My body feels good. My mind feels good. I feel happy. I just enjoy the process. And if you go in and you're forcing those, like we've already mentioned, Alisdair mentioned, like, you can't force yourself to go to the gym. It's never going to end well. It's got to be something you enjoy. You've got to reframe it in your mind. And like Alisdair said as well, he didn't really like running, but his relationship changed with it. So it doesn't mean necessarily you have a bad relationship and now you should just avoid it completely. But just check out the stories and what's there for you. And find what works for you and really make it part of your life. And it's the same with diet. So many people, all these crash diets and different things. it's a way of life. We used to be more active as hunter-gatherers and all this, so we didn't really need to think about this. It's because our lives have changed so much and so many people work in offices and this kind of stuff that now we're like, okay, so how do we keep healthy? Because we're not doing as much as we used to. Think of animals, they roam all day, don't they? They don't have to work out if they're going to go and have a gym workout. They're active all the time. So it depends on your lifestyle and what works for you. Maybe even changing jobs and all these kind of things. It's really important. New friends that do different things. And yeah, it's all about just setting your life up so it works for you and realizing that it's great we're intellectual and we make lots of money, all this kind of stuff, but health is paramount and it doesn't have to be separate from any of that. And it's definitely not less important. And it's just taking it from a holistic, balanced point of view where it's not torture, it's pleasure. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned stories too, because that's another big one. What's the story behind just what you're doing generally? What the stories you're getting hooked into. A big part of mine was because of my bullying was to do with my weight. There's a lot of stories there about, God, if I don't lose weight, something bad's going to happen to me, because that's what happened to me. I had the shit kicked out of me, and it was mostly based on weight. So of course I'm going to have an issue with that. I want to stay thin the whole bloody time to avoid violence coming towards me. These are all experiences we take with us. And this is getting quite deep now, but it has to be said because this is a big part of all of these journeys. So thank you, Darryl. That's great. So, Alisdair, from a sort of self-esteem, self-confidence aspect, how did that journey go for you? What was your self-confidence stuff like before you were doing exercise stuff? Was it good? Did this improve it, your journey?
Actually, self-confidence. So, I work in sales, as I mentioned, and people often perceive a salesman as being cocky, overconfident. And one thing I always found was actually I didn't have that confidence that I was able to make people believe I had in my job. So I was good at my job, very good at my job, and I was okay with knocking on people's doors to ask them if they wanted to buy Sky TV, stopping somebody in a shopping centre to ask them if they wanted to buy Sky or Virgin. I worked for both of those people, and I was always able to just go and do that. I've been able to do that all my life, but only when I have what I call my cape. So if I had my uniform on, I'm able to do that, because I'm allowed. I've got permission to do it. If I had to approach a woman in a club or in a pub, that self-confidence disappeared like in a split second. I wouldn't have that. If I had to do it for myself for weight loss or anything, I didn't actually have that self-confidence and self-belief. And going through that journey, I actually was able to find that. So I found the self-confidence and self-achievement in myself because I'd bettered myself. Nobody else had done it. Nobody else had been in the gym 10 hours a week or had managed their meals. Only I had done that. And that's something I will always say to people when I see real positive stories and change, whether that's, they've changed their life, mental health or physical health or anything, that they've done that and nobody can take that away from you. That's yours, and that's for yours to take to the grave. That's your own personal achievement, and that's gives you that self-belief and confidence. You can only gain confidence in something by doing something. Otherwise, if you don't do it, or if you've never done it, you don't have confidence in doing it. And it's that changed it for me. Around self-achievement, and I think Steve talked about the balance of everything. You need to have your body right, you need to have your mind right, you need to get your one thing I think we didn't talk about was sleep. And if you don't have your sleep in there as well, that's a massive thing, is getting your sleep right. And I would recommend anybody going through a fitness wellness change or journey is to read a book by Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. It's really informative. Talks about stages of sleep, the benefits of sleep, and I know that many people, suffering from mental health, struggle with sleeping, but that was a real powerful book. And then Darryl talked about, why are we doing this? And that is a key message I would say to anybody. Quite often we get asked within our fitness group, how do you get so motivated to do it when people see the positive stories? I wish I was as motivated as you. And I will always say to that person, it starts with why. There's a really good book that I read being a manager when I was trying to think about how could I motivate my team, by a guy called Simon Sinek, called It Starts With Why. And he's got a really good TED talk on that. But his book's awesome about it starts with why. And I would say to anybody, go back and ask yourself why. Why do I want to lose weight? And when you give yourself the answer of, oh, so I can live longer. Why? Why do you want to live longer? Oh, because I want to be able to have children. Why do you want to have children? Oh, because is there, and ask that why and why and why until you get to that point where you find the answer, to what you do, because that's where the motivation will come. You will find your motivation by asking that question. And that, that was really powerful for me as well, because when you find out, why did I want to lose weight? Well, my weight went up incredibly because I was addicted to work. I was working 80 hours a week. I was eating packaged sandwiches left, right, and center. And I had done that since I was working at 18 years old. I became successful in my career because I was prepared to work harder than anybody else. That why do I need to work harder than everybody else? What's that about? Where does that stem from? And that can a very deep subject as well. But my mental health deteriorated from that. My physical health deteriorated alongside that. And when I was able to deal with that, was actually, why was I working all those hours? Because that was a thing I was really good at. That's where I got all my confidence. I didn't have any confidence and self-belief outside of that. I only had that self-confidence and self-belief in that. So I stuck to what I knew and what I was good at. Because everything else outside, I didn't have that self-confidence and belief. And going into this journey where I joined this fitness group, and I did it for a number of reasons. I got to a stage in my life where I needed to find some new friends. I have really good close friends who are all amazing, and they've been with me since I was kind of 18, 19. But they all had their lives. There was family, young children, doing their own things, maybe doing things I didn't want to do. So I had to find what I wanted to do and build a friendship group around that. And I found that within that community. And from that, I then stepped outside my comfort zone. And one thing that I've that comes up in our academy all the time, I think some things that comes from the guy called James Smith. It's not his quote. It's quotes from elsewhere. But you're being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And that forced me to go to some meetups with strangers from the internet, people I've never met, and hearing people say, I've been watching your journey, you've done amazing. Suddenly, my confidence in that area started to come, and some self-belief came from those things. And a ship is safest in harbour, but that's not why a ship is built. As that's just a couple of things that brought me back to where, and now I have got that self-confidence and belief that I'm doing a podcast. I'm working on lots of other things, and it all follows.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thanks so much. And I love that the why concept. And I think to find out what our values are, you can go through that why journey, why, and eventually you're going to get to a point where you go, okay, that's my value. It's a life value that's informing all of those other whys that are all getting lost in the thought processes. So thank you. That's such a really, really good bit of nugget information there. Because like I say, if I was on this weight loss journey, so I feel I'll be more accepted, it's not really a very good why, and it isn't coming from a place of value and belief systems and something that means something to me. And I think with my stepson, it's really important that I stay as fit, as healthy as I can, so I can be the guy that runs around with him in the park and we're wrestling, and I need to be stretchy and bendy to do wrestling with him and do the crazy yoga stuff he gets up to at 4 years old. To do that is a really awesome reason to take up yoga and start to get that stretchy too. So it's for him, but it also needs to be for me. If I find yoga really irritating, then that doesn't make any sense either. It's no good for me. So it's like, how can I meet his need, which is a value of mine, but also meet my values and my needs too at the same time. So yeah, thank you. That's really, really cool with the why stuff. What other elements do you think make exercise so powerful? For example, for the building of community and relatable relationships. Now, this is quite handy because Alisdair already touched on that, especially as part of the JSAM group. I think if you're going out for a run and you're going to do it with a community group at 7 p.m. in the evening because you love to chat as you're running along with your friends, brilliant. It's a reason to go out, make friends, be in community, and also lose a bit of weight and get fit at the same time. I think community is such a great gateway to getting fit and healthy. What are your thoughts on the community mental health aspects of exercise?
Well, before I jump into that, I just love the analogy of the ship earlier on. And one of the things I often use is you are the master of your ship as well. And you can be the master. So, you've got all the abilities and the processes you want to use to become the master of that. So you can take it out into the ocean and you can step out of your comfort zone and you can make incredible things happen. Exercise comes in many forms. It can be by yourself, it can be in groups, it's teams, whether it's dance, football, or any other type of exercise. But it's something that brings people together. Although you can be out doing it by yourself, like you say, you might be out running, you're still going to pass other people maybe running as well. So I think many people have made lifelong friendships through exercise of some form, whether it's through a sport or whether it's an individual thing you're doing on your own in the gym. You strike up a conversation with somebody. So people have become relatable. There's a lot of commonality, and it can also bring admiration and inspiration in many different ways. And you're out there, and it's one of your basic needs, isn't it? Your interaction with other people. So just being able to be a part of something, whether it's a group, whether it's a class, or whether it's just being yourself in a gym, I think it always brings opportunities for something new to develop and something new to grow, because you may be outside your comfort zone at that time, but you can step into your comfort zone then.
It's really nice. I love the relatability thing you talk about. And I always think about like Tough Mudder events, how cool it is to team up with 4 or 5 other people and help each other over, the high walls and help each other through the water. And it's such a beautiful experience and so good for you too on all health levels. And also you go on similar journeys too, don't you? You get to go on a journey together through a fitness goal that you've both got. And it's something you can be accountable to each other for and share experiences and be there for each other. I just think it's very, very beautiful. I always find that with squash. When I used to play squash in the league at league level, I'm meeting these strangers and we've got to have this competitive game, which can get a bit tasty. But it was just such a beautiful thing to share with a stranger. And by the end of it, you're just mates because, it's hardcore. It's a battle of Vikings and male and female Vikings. Obviously, I played some unbelievably amazing women in that division who absolutely destroyed me. They were absolutely beautiful. And also, I played 6-year-olds that destroyed the 24-year-old version of me because they stood in the center of the court and they knew how to control the game. And I'm running around like a lunatic, sweating all over the floor because they knew a different way. And I get to learn from them as mentors. And it's brilliant. So much relatability. So yeah, thanks so much, Steve. That's absolutely awesome. So, Darryl, for you, the community aspect of this, I just, as a walker, is it something you like to do by yourself? Do you like to walk with others too? Is that an enjoyable experience for you?
Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't actually thinking about that there. Walking, but yeah, walking. Yeah, I love doing it on my own. And I love doing it with people. Like it's whatever the mood's striking you, isn't it? It can be really social. It can be just fun, and it can be sometimes a long day. And sometimes it's nice to have that time. It's almost like a double win-win activity and time with people maybe you haven't seen so much. So that social element's huge as well, and it can be nice to enjoy. And because walking's generally like it's not like running or fast-paced sports, you can leisurely kind of talk throughout the day, so it's a great opportunity to socialize well. I love going with the dog. I love even just that. I'd rather do that than on my own in a way, because just that company and that exercise and seeing who running around happy is really exciting as well. It's just the connection. We're really like social creatures, aren't we? And that includes animals as well for me. So I feel like it's really important to us on a fundamental level to have that connection. So often it plays a part in all of the things we do. And I think it's great for certain things as well if we spread out into wider things like team sports, and it's all that team camaraderie and all of that, working together, feeling part of something bigger than yourself, helping each other out, growing together, like you mentioned, mentoring, learning, and both being the teacher and the student in all different aspects of different things. The accountability, and really comes to mind, especially like we go into the gym and we're starting something new, that accountability, that support, that maybe that fun that takes your mind off, that you feel like it's a bit of a chore, and it can get you really into it and support you and keep you more committed. Because often we'll do more for other people than we'll do it for ourselves. If we said we're going to go with someone else, so we all know that kind of accountability is really powerful. And I think more than all of that as well, it's really powerful that we create strong bonds, but also we can share powerful messages and use through sports and exercises and dancing that we can express, and not just express ourselves and be free, which is amazing and powerful, and share that with each other, but also there's causes and charities and all these things that come into it, and they can be on the back of it or on the front of it, however you look at it, however it's focused, that can come from whether it just be sponsored to using that dance to share a message, a movement. I've seen things like that with certain things out in the world. So I think it can be really powerful, and that social thing is hugely part of our DNA and part of us making big changes in our own lives, but like I say, in others' lives as well. And sharing that and having a great quality of life is key. So I think when you've got that balance of you really just enjoy what you're doing and the learning, the grow up, and you're developing with it, and you've got great people to do it with, or just to be around, doesn't necessarily have to be always with them, but like to learn from, to work with, and to team with, and have fun with, then that's like just a win-win-win-win-win. You know what I mean? And then it just becomes we're in our element. And if you think of something you really love doing, it probably ticks all those kind of boxes that you need. So it's really important.
Yeah, thank you. Some really, really good points in there. And it made me think a little bit then about, when people raise money for charity too. If you're raising charity, maybe it's a solo event you're doing too, like a marathon or something, but it brings a community around you who are with you on your journey. And that's very beautiful, and it's for a good cause. So it's kind of, there's so much joy in this on a community level. So thank you, Darryl. It's absolutely awesome. So, Alisdair, the obvious place for you obviously has been your time with the JSAM community. Do you think you would have pulled off the journey of weight loss and fitness gains if it wasn't for that community?
Absolutely. I don't think I would have. The community within that, and I've been, as you, Steve and Darryl have been talking, I've been reminded of all the times that I've had community in sport and exercise. But having it online with strangers that you didn't know before, it was a very different experience. And that actually, bit of a plug for myself. That's where my podcast is all about. It's about bringing these people's stories to life, because as you alluded to earlier, what you see on Instagram maybe isn't the whole story. And we see that from influencers and things like that on Instagram. But for me, it was about seeing all these amazing stories where there's a background to it. There's a different why for everybody. And some people in our community didn't join the community for weight loss. Some people joined it to learn how exercise works, and some people joined it to actually gain strength. There's a friend of mine who actually really struggles to gain weight, and it's a different process for them. So you see all of that through a community, and so there's that online community, and we meet up randomly across the UK 3 or 4 times a year. But then there's the other sides of different communities, like being in a gym which is a club where there's racket sports, there's the steam room, the sauna, going to a spinning class, something that I've been doing to train for triathlon. Different sense of community. You meet up 5 minutes before. You actually only have that community for maybe 5 minutes before or 5 minutes afterwards, but you have that. Going to being part of the triathlon swim class, again, a different sense of community. Going into the steam room and sauna at the same time on a regular basis, you see the same people, and we have chats, and you learn more about these people. But they're often throughout these groups. I mean, again, football I've played for the last 10 years or so. The boxing gym has a different community. What you realize is you actually have something in common with so many different types of people. The thing in common is what you're doing at that time. And I think I talked about before is I'm doing things now that maybe my friendship group, my close friends don't enjoy doing. So I found that common denominator elsewhere. And I now have new friendship groups and new people to support me with that thing. They can help me with that thing. But once you start talking to them, you realize maybe actually we have more in common. And then they become good friends. And you have then 5 or 6 different friendship groups that you tap into for different reasons. A lot of the time we have our really close friends, and we say we're influenced by the 5 people that are closest around you. But I think it's much bigger than that. You should fill your life with as many people as possible, and get involved with as many different communities as possible, because it can inspire you in so many different ways. And one thing that we started within our community this week, and it came from an idea, and it was stemmed, and it started, and it grew from a Sunday morning idea from somebody to 350 people taking place. So we're all doing, as we've been broken into different teams, and we're doing a challenge throughout June to increase our steps and keep ourselves accountable from that. So everybody's been out this week massively doing more steps to try and help the team out. And again, I've now got from that community a sub-community where I now have a WhatsApp group with 10 other people who we're now building a separate community. These are maybe 10 other people that I didn't normally speak to, but we now have that thing in common of doing our steps, and we're a team, and we're going to help each other for the team to increase our weekly steps. And on Monday, when one lady said she really couldn't face going out, she did a long time, she was a midwife, she'd been on night shift, she knew her steps were going to be low. All of a sudden, 9 other random people said, "It's all right, we've got you, we'll do some extra." And that was, I've seen that change, and I was quite inspired. But I spoke on my social media this morning about that from one person's idea, there's been a massive impact in the first 4 days and what people are doing. So, and there's some massive steps. People have been doing sort of 40,000 steps in a day, and which is has become quite a thing. But community is really important, especially I think we've all found that in lockdown. I think as a nation, we've learned that we need each other, and hopefully that will come out over the coming months and years, and we'll remember that. We'll remember the fact that we started to learn who our neighbours were. Many people didn't know who lived next door to them, and now people can call those people friends. So yeah, community comes out in so many aspects.
Yeah, thanks so much. And it's so powerful what you said there across the board, because today, the whole point is looking at how exercise, fitness, movement, activity, all this kind of stuff can help our mental health with depression, anxiety. But what we're seeing is just by a byproduct of what we're talking about, that building of community and friendships and tribalness and feeling safe with others and making new friends is how our depression, anxiety can start to dissipate, and we start to feel a little bit better. So we're not even saying that necessarily the exercise itself is the bit that helps you with your mental health. It's the byproduct of the community that it creates, which is where the real power lies, which is, a really lovely sentiment, I think, from what we said today. So thanks so much for that, mate. That was really, really cool. What insight could each of us share on keeping a positive mindset within exercise and using it in the healthiest way possible? So we're talking about mindset here and how to keep going what we're doing. I just want to touch on something that we haven't mentioned yet, that Alisdair was talking about: sleep. So I'm a fully qualified personal trainer, and for some reason I've not mentioned that in an hour and 15 minutes of a fitness and exercise episode. There you go. I'm a personal trainer. But anyway, most of the fitness the gains that you get, come from the recovery. It comes from the repairing of your body to be stronger, to anticipate you doing the activity again. That's where you get your gain, not from the actual exercise itself. People get re-obsessed with overtraining, thinking that's where the gain comes from, rather than leaving enough time for your body to reset before you hit it again. It's really important to know that. And sleep is massive for muscle repair and using your proteins to grow and mold. So people get quite despondent mentally about, oh God, nothing's working and I can't seem to get rid of this weight. And then they get in this kind of vicious cycle. And then it turns out that they're way overdoing it and being too obsessive with their food. And in effect, the body then starts storing food because it hasn't got enough nutrients. So being fitness informed, body informed, nutrition informed is vital. Otherwise, your mental health will take a hit because you're going to start feeling really shit about yourself because you're not getting where you need to be. I think you can only set sensible goals if you actually know a bit about human biology and how these things work. And there's a lot of mixed stuff online, don't get me wrong. I'm a big intermittent faster. I absolutely love it. It's where my weight loss comes from. It makes my gut feel 10 times better. I have more energy. It's not digesting food constantly. And I love it. I dip in and out of it. And it's amazing. It's not for everybody, though. For a lot of people, it's a bit triggering having to be that restrictive. So, you had to be sensible here. But for you, Steve, from a mindset perspective, how can we kind of keep our minds healthy within our fitness and exercise goals?
Well, I think a lot of that is down to, becoming aware of your self-talk, because we know that what make or break us through our own conditioning. We got different beliefs and different patterns that we run in. I shared something recently in another one when I was working with a personal trainer myself, and legs was always hard. But one day on my way there, I was just saying, well, legs can be easy. Why do they have to be hard? Legs are easy, legs are easy. And I blasted through the session, and the personal trainer said, what was different? You achieved so much more today. And I said, well, I just told myself something different in my mind, that it was easy instead of hard. So I think it's all about enjoyment as well. Your mindset can be on course if you're doing something that's enjoyable, that excites you, that gets you going. If I've got to go to the gym sometimes and it's a chore and I'm not enjoying it, I can easily talk myself out of it. So one thing I have learned through people who are the experts in the field often tell me the best time to do exercise is in the morning. Once you get up, get straight into something. Some people say do the old count, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't procrastinate. Get straight into it. Do it. All right? Because as you go through your day, things are happening. Your conversations are going on in your head, and you talk yourself out of it. So very often, people are going to train in the evening. They'll talk themselves out of it, and then they've missed a couple of evenings before they get back into it, lost the motivation. So I think it's a regime as well. Something that when you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, and that's the big thing. I love that. The why is getting into that, and it's just keeping yourself, your own motivation. The competitive edge comes out in us, doesn't it? Very often. I think I've been watching Harry's Heroes recently on the telly with the old ex-footballers, and they play in different other countries, similar ages, but then they reach one country, think, yeah, we remember playing them. It's only a friendly. No, it isn't. That competitive edge comes back out in them, and they're pushing themselves a little bit further, which is great. And they're still doing something they love at that age. So, yeah, it's just do what you love. Enjoy it. Get your routine, your regime, and just get that mindset working that it's not difficult. It can be easy. It can be enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that if there's any form of resistance, it makes the whole thing more difficult anyway, full stop, doesn't it? So tapping into what really makes you tick is huge. I have to say, like, doing it to, when they say, right, you do 10 sets, not 10 sets, sorry, 10 reps of 3 or 4 sets, and you do that, and then you wait for 6 seconds, then do the next one. That doesn't quite work for me. I need more flow. So what I do is I dance between sets, which I know sounds insane, but I'll bang out a load of squats, but then I'll like have a little dance to a track for a bit, and then go back to squats because I love dancing. It feel brilliant. So why not integrate something a little bit silly like that in amongst your sets, just to make the set thing not feel so regimented? Right, I need to get through this and I'm done. That's not going to turn me on enough. I need to be like, cool, how can I get my body moving, get my hips moving, have a good time? I don't really go out anymore, so I miss it. I miss it a lot. So this is my way to keep the nightclub dream alive in my own home. I think I shared too much there, but that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on and bring Darryl into the conversation. So mindset, my friend, what are your thoughts around this? To do it in a healthy way.
Oh, good question. I've got a picture of you in my mind dancing now. It's inspiring. I love it. Yeah, motivation. I find motivation an interesting one. It's kind of understood in different ways, isn't it? So I prefer like thinking of swap motivation for inspiration. Because motivation is generally, most of us perceive it as something in the moment, and like we talked about earlier, a lot of us spoke about. People then feel like, oh, how are you so motivated? How am I this? And it puts them down. But find out what inspires you, and then the motivation will come from that. So it's all back for me to that why, and your intentions, your reason. The story, what is going on there? Why do you want to do it? And really connect to that. And like Alisdair was saying beautifully, just keep going deeper and get underneath that why, underneath it. And like you mentioned, values as well, they all come in. And I think it's so important to know why, because then in those moments where it's like, oh, I've had a long day at work, should I put the shoes on and go running? It's not just should I, shouldn't I, and then you're weighing up in the moment, I could just sit down or run, because realistically it's easy going to be to sit down. But if you realize why you're doing it, and that comes straight up, that inspires you, that picture, that goal to run for, do this event, or for the charity, or for your own health, or for your friends going to the gym, you want to support them as well, and you've committed. And I think that inspires you will keep you going. It's the same with everything for me. If I'm not interested and engaged and really know why I'm doing it, it's so easy to do other things. And that's not just with fitness, like with my business and my different creative things going on. And the inspiration keeps me going. If I was just going on motivation, I would have given up ages ago. You know what I mean? So it's got to be more powerful than that. The why has got to be more powerful, and it's not as simple as just find it and then that's going to keep you going. You have to tell yourself every time. We're quite stupid, really. It'd be great if I could go, this is why I'm doing it, Darryl. So now in a year's time, you still keep going with the momentum. You got to remind yourself regularly, reinforce it, and especially with new habits, new things, you really got to drill them in, but in a nice way. In a way it's something you would love doing. So that's why it's important to choose the right thing in the right way and talk to yourself in the right way. And it can be really powerful, because when you want to do like Steve was saying, how you phrase it in your mind as well, and especially if you've got that bigger picture of why you're doing that, extra reps easier. There's something coming up, whether it be and it's a good thing often a lot of people do, they enroll in these events, the Tough Mudder, to a marathon, to a half marathon, to a 5K, whatever it may be, or a weightlifting competition, bodybuilding, because it gives you that thing. And it's not necessarily so much just about winning, but it's about that goal and something to work towards. We need something to work towards. We need that structure. We need to know it's of value and use in our lives, or I do anyway, for it to be worth our time. We only have so much time in the day, and so many days in our life. We don't know when it's going to go. So it's got to be important to us. It's got to be a priority, and to make it a priority, it can't be forced. We're not long term. So you got to really know why and what inspires you, and go from there.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really like that. And it made me think about something similar to what you're saying there, that I said a lot to my clients who say to me, oh man, this is my massage clients, I find it really hard to find time to exercise and stuff, like fitting it in. And I'll say to them, so what's your day look like? And then they'll tell me about their day. I get up, do this, go to work. And then they get home at 5 or 6. You go, so what happens then? And they'd be like, oh, I have a bit of dinner, maybe sit down, watch a bit of telly. And I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. Did you say something about sitting down watching telly? Did you say? You say you didn't have time to exercise. So what I then say to them, and it works every time, I say, have you ever thought about, maybe you love telly, right? As I do. I love telly, I love my shows. I said, how about you, I know, you can get an exercise bike maybe by your telly. Maybe you could cycle for 20 minutes while you watch one of your shows. And they're like, oh, actually, that's not a bad shout. I'm sat down anyway, so I might as well be sat on a bike instead. And it just like changed their mindset completely. And then they get the bike and then boom, they're starting to lose weight because they've tied something in that they're trying to, I don't want to do it. And they've tied it to something that they love, which would be watching telly. And I say that for stretching. If you have no time to stretch, attach, and you find it boring, attach it to something that you do enjoy. So if you love a good podcast and you're sat down the whole time, do a bit some stretching while you listen to your podcast. Or, oh, I just find walks really boring. I'm like, well, do you enjoy podcasts? Yeah. Well, pop on a podcast and go for a walk. Therefore, you're going to want to get out because you really want to hear the podcast. And boom, you're moving. So that's kind of my version of the mindset around it. And I've done this a lot with my clients, and it works an absolute treat every time. They're like, shit, you're right. I do have time to do free squats in the adverts of my show. There really isn't an excuse to get up and bang out a few cheeky squats every now and again. Or jump in and out of your chair, even, is another good one. There's a chair right there. Jump out of it. Good times. So thank you very much for that, Darryl. So, Alisdair, what have you done with your mindset across this thing? What gets you out, man? What gets you out for those crazy ass runs you're doing in the heat?
Well, I'm further down the journey than maybe somebody who's not started a journey. And I find it easier to do now because I've built up a level of fitness, I've built new routines, and I have those things. And I also know what it's like when they're taken away from me. So then I'm also able to adapt, and because I've been through it. So listening to kind of what Steve and Darryl were talking about, and what you've mentioned, I think there's a couple of things that I would say is, if you don't want to do one thing, do another thing that you want to enjoy. So if you don't want to go for a run today, don't go for a run today. That's okay. Do something else. Just go and get some steps. But the other thing is, if you're going into my massive goal, and I'm not actually at my goal, I'm still another 20 kilos to go to get to my goal. I'm actually only 2/3 into my journey, and that's 18 months down the road. So you've got to understand that your goal might be a lot further away, and people often get frightened by a big goal, but that's the big goal that they set themselves. So people will say, right, Monday, I'm going to go get it. And I'm going to start getting up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week. And I'm going to eat clean. I'm not going to eat anything other than, chicken and rice and broccoli, because that's what they've seen and that's what they believe they've got to do. And by Wednesday, they're knackered. They've not physically, they are tired. They've not physically got the energy to go again. They've under-eaten. Their body's used to getting 3,000 calories a day. They're now eating 1,200. You're going to be beat up from doing that. Your body's not used to doing it. It's been a change in routine that you actually maybe can't fit in your mind. So don't try too much too quickly. You've got to go at it the right way. If you've got 50 pounds to lose, start by losing 1 pound. And it doesn't matter whether if it takes you 5 days or 50 days to do that. Lose a pound. And when you've lost a pound, then we can work out on losing another pound. And it's that sense of achievement, is progression. And that's where I've got. The more I progressed, the better I got. If you were playing Super Mario as a kid, or you wouldn't have been dropped into the final level against the big boss straight away. And so you were put in to the smaller, easier levels where you just had to hop over, a bit. And you may even find that difficult. You might have had to play that level 10 times before you got through. And that's kind of where your journey is. You're going to fall off the horse. You're going to have to put yourself back on again. And if you look at my weight loss as a graph, it's not a straight line down. It's down, up, down, up, down, up. But over time, it's come down. I have put weight back on at times. And I've had to re-engage myself and go again. And it's just about understanding when you've fallen off, being able to catch yourself. The more you understand about yourself, the easier it is to go, oh, hang on, something's changed. For me, I know when my weight's going to go back up by one thing. There's a loaf of bread in the kitchen. I'm very good at keeping bread away from me when I'm doing well. When I'm not doing well, when my sleep's gone or my exercise is out, even if my exercise has gone too much, if I'm starting to exercise too much again, bread appears. So it's about learning, that. And but the sense of achievement thing, and I'm good at reading books. I'm not good at reading books. It takes me ages, but I do read quite a lot, and I watch quite a lot of YouTube and things. But there's a book by Admiral McRaven called Make Your Bed, and it talks about making your bed is the most important thing that you will do every day, because you've achieved something immediately as you're out of bed. You've then got something to build on and go and achieve something else. And that was a really important thing for me, is to just start achieving something, and that is something. And I was probably terrible making my bed. Now I do it every day. I strip my bed every 3 days. I remake it, put fresh clothing on there, and those things, you can build those small habits in. You can make a big difference. And another book that I would relate to that is, and it's talked a lot about in our fitness community, is where I got it from, and just about every one of us has read it. A book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And if anybody's not read that, go and read that book, and you will change your life in terms of what you're achieving. You will suddenly achieve more, because you'll understand things like you mentioned, Owen, about habit stacking, doing things at the same time. And the other part of that is about the 1% gains, or what marginal gains, which was what Sir Dave Brailsford took into British cycling and Team Sky, when we've suddenly become the best cyclists in the world from being nowhere. And we've now got more yellow jerseys than we never had a winner of the Tour de France, and suddenly we've got 8 or 9. And it's about what small changes can you make for a massive difference. If you make 100 small changes, you make 100% change in your life. So look for those small wins. I can't go and exercise. How long have you got? I've only got 10 minutes before I've got. Go out for a walk. Go out for 10 minutes. Because in 10 minutes, you'll put 1,000 steps onto your target. People don't realize, actually, if I can do that, I'll make a big change. It was something I recommended into our group chat about steps this week. There was people saying, I just can't do it when I'm at my office desk. And I said, set a timer for 25 minutes. Every 25 minutes, you get up, you move for 5 minutes. You'll be more productive in that 25 minutes. You'll take 5 minutes out. If you do that 10 minutes every hour, you'll do 1,000 steps in an hour. By the time you leave the work, you've done 8,000 steps, and you don't even realize that you've done them, and you've moved. So if you can make those small changes, that gives you the sense of achievement. That's what keeps you going, because then you get the reward of doing those things, and that reward will be that result will be what motivates you to go again. To lose that 1 more pound. So break it down, small steps, baby steps, and you'll get the bigger results, I think.
Yeah, thank you. And I can see the guys writing down all your book recommendations every time you say them. So I think you've given those two some reading ahead. I'm an Audible guy, so I'll go and check it all out on Audible and whack it to my walk run podcasts, which is amazing. Thanks so much. I love that 1%, 100% concept. It's such a really, really awesome way to look at life generally. I have to say that's a similar thing for me for meditation. I find meditation very difficult to begin with. So I started with, like a 1 minute following my breath exercise in the car or whatever. That's it. That's how I had to start. That's all I could do to begin with, because it was a bit uncomfortable. And then I built up to doing 20-minute long meditations. You know what I mean? It's a similar thing, isn't it? Is just opening up the door a little bit each time. And we're going to get on to our final insights now to wrap up the show. But I just wanted to mention something about, us guys talked about this on the show before, about if you don't challenge yourself enough, you get despondent and nothing's really happening and there's no gain. So, what's the point? If you do too much, it wipes you out and destroys all your momentum because you've overdone it. You need that sweet spot in the middle where you just get enough of a challenge that you get a bit of a gain. So, they say that with running, don't add on like an entire extra mile if you've never done an extra mile before. just add on quarter of a mile and start like that. But we runners are terrible for this, and I'm one of them, where you're just like, right, cool, I'm going to bang out a half. I haven't run for a couple of months, but yeah, it's used to be able to do halves, all good. You go out and just injure yourself, and then you're out for 4 months. So it doesn't really make sense. And I have to say, there's one very quick story. I appreciate we all need to go and have lunch. Is that I'd only ever done 12 miles before. I lived in Bristol running, and I was running half marathons every other weekend, right? So good times. I could run 12 like it was nothing. I go out for a cheeky 12 miler. That's a normal sentence to say. But over time, I then was getting a bit like, oh God, but I'm so used to 12. So instead of doing 12 and a half, guess what I did? You ready? 18. So I went out and did an 18-mile run. First off, I got lost. I got quite far away from my house. So dog walkers were helping me find my way back. So that's kind of hilarious. I got back and I had the most serious dehydration of my life. Honestly, my whole body seized. I had like a migraine. I couldn't move. My housemate had to help me. I had done so much damage to my circulatory system in that time. I got shin splints as well. And I couldn't run for 3 months. So I loved running and I'd lost it for 3 months. Went into a bit of a depression around that. It just shows, like you just said there, Alisdair, about how you set out your goals and stuff, because I always remember that story. Honestly, I cannot explain that dehydration experience. My God, it was bizarre. But there's a little story for you guys about being very sensible. Just give yourself enough of a challenge that you can get something out of it, but not wipe yourself out. So that's my little story for you. Story time. Right, this is our final insight pass, guys. This is your chance to give a final little bit of insight for the audience, to send them away feeling super inspired. This is your epic speech opportunity. So if we start with you, Steve, what would be your final thoughts for anybody who wants to improve their mental health through activity?
One thing I loved what Alisdair said was momentum, really, and results. Because as you get your results, it increases your momentum. If you can see the benefits you're getting, you're going to get something from it, and you keep moving forward with it. It's basically finding a routine that works for you, whether it's simple or very challenging, that just increases that heart rate a little bit, gets you breathing a little bit heavier. But it's something you're going to enjoy, and you're going to look forward to it. So nothing should be a chore. If it is, find something else. And again, like Alisdair said, try multiple things, because you're going to find something lights your spark, ignites you a little bit more than something else. And that's where you're going to find your niche. But also remember, we've talked a lot today about exercise and the body, and then we talk about mindset. But there's exercise for the mind as well. And that's something I created a few years ago. It was a mindset gym, which created into a limitations program where you can exercise the mind in different ways as well, to keep you in the right frame of mind to get the gains that you want in the body as well.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point, actually, the mindset stuff. And even like Steve, haven't we? We're about to put out a not relaxation, but like I don't know what we're going to call it, are we? This visualization for triathletes, and we're going to be putting that out for people to kind of like not quite meditate on it, but it's a visualization to keep them in the zone. I think that's very powerful, isn't it?
Well, I've actually used that in my sessions with people doing the Ironman in Tenby. I've used it with a couple of people. And one had an ankle injury, and he got through it. He said, I don't know what happened, but my mind was in a different place. Didn't feel the discomforts, managed to get through it all well without causing any injury to himself as well. So yeah, it's just a way of getting that mind engaged into visualizing what you really want to achieve as well. So that works with whatever you want and your gains that you want.
Definitely. We're sort of tapping into functional fitness there too, using your mind for better performance and all that kind of stuff, which is, 100% a different show. And it's tapping into my old passion for personal training. I don't do it very much anymore, but this conversation is it's got me going. So thanks, guys. So thanks for that, Steve. Darryl, what are your final thoughts before we go today?
Yeah, on that note, I've worked in the fitness world as well, and I worked in the outdoor world, and both like cross over in some ways, but and there are very similarities, especially with these conversations around health and mental health. And I think it's really important what I've learned through experience as well and hobby in both, and I still are very active in the outdoors and with my fitness. And I find it's just fundamental to your well-being, mentally, physically, emotionally, on every level. Finding that which you enjoy, and it can bring in, like we say, like we talked about, the social, and it's often some of the best times of my life are doing things like that, the activities. And so yeah, make it a thing that you enjoy. It's not, I must do this to get this so I can lose weight, but really enjoy the process. Like, life's all about that, isn't it? Enjoy the journey. So enjoy that journey that you're on with it. So try stuff out, pick stuff you enjoy. And also, like the guys have touched on beautifully, so I'm just going to give one more thing to finish, but keep it simple. Make it easy for yourself. If you make that mountain high, you will avoid doing it, or you'll be like, oh, I'll start again because it feels so big. But just that, like they talked about, that little win, that little success. And it's the same with everything. I do it with my business, do it with my exercise, do it with my relationship, do it with everything. Little by little, if you want to improve in a certain area or get a new habit, or create more momentum, little things, very little things stack up quickly, and just focus on those little things, not the big thing. Little thing towards the big thing, and embrace those, enjoy those, and also pat yourself on the back when you achieve them.
Yeah, thank you. That's very, really good. It just inspired me for my finale, so thank you. I'll hold off a second, but you just inspired me there for my final insight. Thank you, Darryl. So, Alisdair, I just want to say before anything else, thank you so much today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and hear your story, and the way you speak. Honestly, because I've known you for years, you just sound like a very well integrated guy now who kind of knows who they are, and it's so beautiful to see that, man. From what I know of you in previous times, so well done, man. And what would be your final insights for the audience?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, there. You've made me blush, as they would say. But do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else. It's it's got to be for you. Because when it becomes about you, and your happiness, you're far more likely to do it. And give yourself that time. I know that so many people have different lives. Some people have got large families, demands of relationships, demands at work. But if you can't apportion some of your life to yourself, what's really the point? If you can't give yourself an hour a day back, then there's probably something else going wrong, and maybe you should explore that with around mental health, because we've all been put in these bodies to roam the earth for a number of years. Not everybody gets the chance. You've got the opportunity today to go and do it. Don't wait till Monday. Don't wait till the first of the month. You can go out, if you're listening today, you can go out this afternoon and go and put another 1,000 steps on your calculation. You can start your journey right now. And that's all I'd say. Is just don't put it off. Do it for you. And as Darryl said, enjoy the process. Because it's your journey, it's your story to tell. And when you have that story to tell, you might be able to go and inspire somebody else in the future. So, and good luck with it. And if anybody listens and they need any support, I am an open book. If you need that help or support, or you want to tap in or watch something, give me a follow on social media, or send me a direct message. I'm not going to refuse helping anybody, because I've had that help and support from other people in the past.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really, really powerful stuff. And we're going to put links, underneath in the video description anyway, for all the various links to get through to where you are, mate. To put that, I'm just going to, don't go anywhere, guys. I'm just going to sign off, and then we'll find out where we can find you online. I just want to thank you all so much for today. It's been super powerful. Actually, it's been very different to stuff we've done in the first 11 episodes we've done. So it's been really nice to tap into different subjects like this in series 2. So thank you so much. So I hope this has been fascinating for everybody listening, and it brings insight for you to start to go on your journey through fitness and the mental health aspects that come with it. So I just want to do a quick shout out to all our amazing patrons patrons on Patreon. Gets me every time. I want to thank Mike Morgan, Emerald McLeod, Judy Farris, Maggie Palmer, Roland Chesters, Hannah Irvin, Karen Goodson, and of course, Stephen Truelove and Darryl Osborne, who are on the call, who are so kind to help me along the way with Cove Wellbeing. You can sign up to become a patron at the video description. You'll see a link down there, or visit www.patreon.com/MCW. There's a range of other benefits there that you can gain from being a patron with us too, and just connect with some of the other fellow members of the community too, which is always really nice. For more on us and our mission and what we're doing, visit mancovewellbeing.com. So before we go, guys, do you just want to let people know where they can find you at home, or online rather? So Steve, where can we find you?
Yeah, Steve Truelove of Love Life Love You, and that's www.lovelifeloveyou.co.uk.
Okay, thank you so much, friend. Darryl, where can we find you?
Yes, my website's darrylosborne.com. Lots of stuff on there. You can also email me. Feel free to reach out to me via social media as well, on Facebook, and got different communities and lots of content on there. So yeah, reach out, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. And Alisdair, just quickly, what is the name of your podcast again, and what platforms can they find it on?
So name of my podcast is Conversations With, and currently we're in our first season where I'm having conversations with other other people that have had fitness journeys and what their stories are. And you can find me on a number of different platforms. Probably the best way to find out more about myself or through our podcast is to visit linktr.ee/Alisdair M. That's Alisdair with a D. And everything's on that link.
Okay, awesome. I'll pop that link down in the description too. And to find you on Instagram and stuff, what's your tag for that, if you know it off the top of your head?
So for the podcast, it'd be podcast_conversations_with. And for my personal journey, it would be aman with a double N _does weight loss _JSA.
Awesome, brilliant. Again, I'll put the links in.
So obviously everybody can remember that.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll put the links in. It's just nice for people to say it out loud too. But yeah, go and check it out, guys. It's just awesome to watch all of your stats from your apps and stuff, seeing what you're up to. I feel like I know you very well, at least your fitness side anyway. It's really cool. So again, thank you so much, my friend. It was great to reconnect with you too, and joining me and the guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in again this week for episode 2 of series 2. Can you believe it? We've still got 8 more episodes of series 2 to come, and we've got some absolutely amazing guests on the way. So please check it out. As always, stay safe. Look after your loved ones. Get to know your neighbours. Like Alisdair said, this is the time to do it while lockdown's happening. And I hope we all come out of this in a lot of best place than we went in before the pandemic starts. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. We want to thank our patron, Emerald McLeod, for her support on Patreon. Thank you for watching, and if you're seeking support with your emotional and mental health, please contact one of the helplines listed in the description of this video on YouTube. We hope this was useful, and if you'd like to see more videos like this one and even provide your own content, please subscribe and contact us at the links below. Why not join the MCW community and support our mission by becoming a patron today? With a host of benefits, exclusive access to patron-only content, and helping us make the change. We want to thank all the patrons listed above for their support. We also want to thank the wellness experts, practitioners, and advocates who share their content with us. That's all for us today, and we'll see you soon.